Well, I hope you're doing well today. I heard somebody recently say that they believe that God didn't necessarily intend for us to be good, that He understood that we couldn't be good. I don't deny that to some degree. I think it's in Psalm 103 and verse 12. It says that God takes pity on us. He understands our nature. He's like a father. But I just want you to think about the underlying premise of that assertion. There's many people that just simply believe that God doesn't expect perfection, and that there's just a measure of goodness that He's looking for, and that doesn't matter who they are in the world or what their belief system may be. If they are good, meaning in the way that they treat other people, then that would be acceptable to God. But just remember this, that prior to the fall, man was good, perfectly good, meaning that there was nothing about his nature that would have separated him from complete fellowship with God. And that after the fall, there in Genesis chapter 3, all of a sudden now there was this broken relationship. And so goodness was impossible. And so what did God do? Well, He began the institution of sacrifice. But it wasn't the sacrifice of a person. It was the sacrifice of something else in their stead. The very next chapter, Cain and Abel. Many people say, well, Abel's was accepted because it was a blood sacrifice, and Abel's was accepted because it was the best, that it was the best of the flock. And Cain brought his own effort, what he thought would be acceptable, but it obviously wasn't his best. There's no indication that it had to be anything other than his best. That sense of blood sacrifice is something that continued to progress and became institutionalized in the tabernacle, in the temple. But think about it. Without a sacrifice for sin, there very clearly it says in Hebrews chapter 9, there is no forgiveness of sins, and that's why Jesus Christ offered Himself. So for you and I today, we have a sacrifice, something that we have expressed faith in. And so our goodness is not something that we look to within ourselves to achieve. Our goodness comes from God. That's why one of the 9 fruits of the Spirit is goodness. In Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22, it's one of those providing elements, the fruit of the Spirit that He provides for us. We look to Him as the means by which we can live out goodness. And I was considering evil and what evil means, and certainly we know that evil is personified in the very person of Satan himself. I'm clicking my fingers because my dog is going to bark. And that Satan himself is the very personification of evil. In 1 John 5 and verse 18, the Word of God, and 19 says the whole world lies in the hands of the evil one. And what did he do that made him evil? First of all, he diminished the value of God, and he wanted to assert himself on equal terms with Him, much like human beings do. And then secondly, what he did is he diminished the creation of God and God's creatures. So he harmed God's creatures. He was the means by which temptation came into the garden. He was the means by which mankind fell. And so evil is doing harm, first of all, in terms of our respect for the God who created us, and secondly, in doing harm to those that God created in His image. So we're to treat people, in Matthew chapter 7 and verse 12 and on, the way that we want to be treated ourselves. We're to love others as he has shown us that he loved us. We're to lay down our life because he laid down his life, and so on and so forth. We're to serve others based upon our love for him. All of these truths tell us that our real testimony on this earth, the things that really stand out, what is good, rather than just trying to generalize goodness, what is good is our relationship to Christ by faith. Loving him and loving others is good. Loving him and loving others. Everything falls into that one silo. Loving him and loving others. Till next time, friends, God bless you.